Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I am Soccer Bro. Welcome if you're new, and if you're returning for whatever reason, welcome. It's been a while and I've been working up to this story time for a long time, and I'm not sure if I'm fully ready to talk about this in general, but we're gonna try. Also, I wanted to bring up something more fun and more lighthearted before we get into this sad part. Again, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready. I'm also sweating because it's hot out. Anyways, so me and my mom, we went to go get Duncan like we always do whenever she has her days off. And we're on our way back to going home. We actually spotted something very interesting, and I'm still happy about it. I got a couple of photos and I got one video of it, and I was so happy. So most of you guys know, if you're returning, you know that we have a Mercury Grand Marquis GS. And you know how much I love that car. And everything else. I think I'm getting a sunburn on my leg. Anyways, so yeah. So we were pulling up. I thought, because I didn't see the car up close yet, I thought it was like a Crown Vic or it was another Mercury, but it was an 80s version. But it wasn't like a town car version of these cars. It was just a later 80s, early 90s design, and I wasn't aware that that when I found out about what car it was, I wasn't sure if it was what it was until we got up close to it. So I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't know that they had an 80s version of this car, but clearly they do, and it was a Mercury Cougar, and I was so happy because Mercury Cougars are very rare to see, especially one of that build, and if you see those a lot, you're so lucky, because the last time I saw a Mercury Cougar, it was around the 60s version or 70s version of that car, and I saw it at a car show. And this one I didn't see on the car show, I actually saw it on the road actually driving, and I got a couple of photos of it, but I mostly got photos of the butt of the car because we couldn't get it and it was turning because it was going the other way. So it was happy to see. That made my day, especially since we have to do this dark and depressing video. Here we go. Okay, so after we got done with the happy part of this video, now we're gonna get into the dark and depressing part of this video. Yay! So basically, this really affected me as a kid, and it does still affect me now in a lot of ways, but I'm starting to heal from it. But it's just hard for recent occurrences. So anyways, with that, let's get into the story. Welcome back to another story time episode and everything else. This is another sad and depressing one versus a happy one. And yeah. So I used to be a very happy kid. I was an extreme extrovert, but I was also kind of an invert depending on whoever I was like interacting with. I would literally talk to a lot of people, but I would also be the quiet kid as well. So, but yeah, I was a very happy kid back then. I was also a very young kid during the beginning of this story, basically. So me and my sister were really close in our early years. But we would also have some conflicts considering the time gap, and also we're two different people as well, as like different personalities basically. I love my sister. We are still close and everything today. But yeah. I do love my sister and everything else. She helped me through all this tough years and the early years, considering, yeah. And also, my older brother figure is also going to play a big part. But that's later down the line. And things changed drastically when he came into our lives, honestly. Not just mine, but also my sister's. And I wouldn't be where I am today without either one of them, honestly. So yeah, Alex, you know. You know. Same with Brianna. You also know Brianna. So yeah, so Brianna was older than me. I was basically like a toddler at this point. And my mom and my sister, we were all together. We were always together a lot of the time when my mom wasn't working, and my mom works a lot, especially back when we were kids. So a lot of time we would either be placed in the care of our father, or we would be placed in the loving care of my grandmother. And we were at my grandma's house more often than we were taken care of by my father, for a lot of reasons. Plus, we were taking a lot better care from my grandmother versus when we were in the care of my father. Again, for a lot of reasons, but that has a lot to do with the story, but it also has nothing to do with the story at the same time. But during one point in the 2000s, when I wasn't really an infant at the point, I was more like a toddler. My sister, I forget what she was, but just know that she's older than me by a lot. So she was an older kid, but she was still in adolescence. And so she was more aware of what was going on versus what I was at the time. And so when I was around like 5 or 6 was the time when my mom and father went to court to gain custody of my older brother. He is only related to my father, and he takes a lot after his father in a lot of ways. And with that is kind of sad. And he was around 13 at the time. He was a 90s kid. And he was basically a teenager during the 2000s. He's probably around late 20s, early 30s about this point. I just turned 20, so that should explain the age gap difference. And my sister's like early 20s too. For like present day awareness of like the age group and stuff like that. I am the youngest of 6. On my father's side, my mom only has 2 kids, which is me and my sister. And so she had to take care of, sometimes she would be able to take care of my other brother, but for right now I'm talking about this specific brother. That's not my other brother, because he ended up living with us for a lot of our childhood. So I was really close to my brother, considering I was a young kid, and I've always wanted a brother, no offense to my sister. But me and my sister were close too, but we would always butt heads because of, 1, the age gap, and 2, different personalities, so we could never really agree on certain things. And I was also a bossy toddler, so like there's that as well. But this is like when I was like the happiest I was ever in my life, besides when I have to go to car shows. And it was just enjoyable because everything. I have to put my hair up. And everything else. So I'm sorry if the bun looks horrible, but I have to put it up. It's really hot out. And I don't have water. I just have caffeine, and that doesn't help, really. And so we were all hanging out and being kids or adolescents at this time, because he was straight up a teenager, early teens at this point. And so we were hanging out together a lot. Me and my sister played basketball with him and stuff like that, like around the world and everything else. And despite me being a very small kid, they included me in a lot of stuff. But there's a lot of times where I had to sit out because I couldn't play the same games as they could, obviously because they're older. But I didn't have, as much as I was like just like around, I didn't care if I was playing or not. And also considering like my ADD was a lot worse when I was a kid. So basically, even if I wasn't playing with them, I would basically be occupied with something else. Basically, I would basically be staring into space. Or I would basically just sit there, watch, or anything. But a lot of times when they would ask me a question, I would basically just not know the answer. It's just cause. But a lot of times I was included. We used to play wiffle ball or baseball in our backyard. We would also play soccer, and I was really good at soccer. Regardless of me being like a very small kid playing with like people who were like a bit older. But I loved soccer, and I was always up to play soccer. I also loved it when we played it when I was finally in school. People used to literally fight with me because I was like the better soccer player than a lot of other kids were, so I'd be fought to be on either team. Also, my love for soccer has not gone away. I still love soccer so much, but I loved playing it with my sister and my brother. Basically, I'd love to play it with anyone regardless, because that's how much I love the sport, even though most of the time I wasn't even playing it right. So like, so again, we did spend a lot of time together, but there's also a lot of time that it was just me and my brother. Was when my sister would be doing either her own thing or she was out with her friends, because she was in school at that point. And so me and my brother would spend a lot more time together. He wasn't really the best caretaker because he didn't really know how to really take care of kids, which I can't blame him, because we were kind of like his first, because he was the youngest, because he has other siblings that aren't related to me or my sister. So like he was kind of the youngest there too, hanging out with the other youngest of another pair of like siblings, basically. I'm the youngest out of all of them. My sister would be like the second youngest. But despite my sister at her age, she was actually very responsible for her age. She was doing a lot for me at the time. Out of who was the better caretaker was my sister versus my brother. I'm not saying like guys can't really take care of kids. I'm just saying like the role of that doesn't happen as much. And there's nothing wrong with big brothers taking care of their younger siblings. Honestly, I think it should happen a lot more often. Honestly, but it doesn't, sadly. But yeah. So basically, I would also be hanging out with my brother and his friends, they would include me a lot, and there was also a lot of times that they would want times to themselves, so they would cut me off. That didn't go well with me because I always thought I did something, or like I felt like I was just boring, but I didn't fully understand because I was just a kid at that point. And he kind of did it in a way that he was trying to be nicer, but he would also just tell me to just go away, basically, which he shouldn't have done in a way. But then again, I wouldn't have understood anyway, because like I was a kid. I was basically a toddler, wanted to hang out with like teenagers at that point. So yeah, I didn't really care if I was like doing anything, like interacting. Like I just wanted to be there with them, basically, which was kind of similar with my sister, basically, but the difference is I was a lot more active around my sister and her friends, kind of, versus, I don't really know, and I don't really remember fully, basically, but I spent a lot of time with equal amount of them, but there's also a lot of time where I was mostly alone and isolated, so that it's hard for me to like engage with people versus family members, because that's just how it was when I was a kid. And I was also around my grandmother a lot, so I basically mostly interacted with people a lot older than my age, so I'm not really good with communicating with around people around my age or having the same interests as people my age, because I wasn't really around people my age growing up, so it was kind of hard for me. But I was always used to being around people who were older than me or a lot younger than me, so it was kind of 50-50. But I was isolated a lot as a kid. So I don't really blame my sister for that, because it wasn't her fault, because I understand, like, you need time away. Which I also can't really fault my brother for that either, but it's just how he came off at it, and then after the events that happened a lot after this, didn't help at all. So fast forward, we went and we had some family vacations. Most likely this one was together. We went to Ohio to visit my older sister and my oldest sister and brother. I never got to meet my oldest brother, but I did get to meet my oldest sister. I also got to meet my nephew. During this time period, she was in high school. She had a son during this time, which was he's closer to my age, considering, like, kind of my age, but also not my age, because, like, he was an infant and I was, like, a toddler holding a baby. It was hard for me to hold my nephew, because, like, again, I was a toddler and I also had the worst upper body strength then than I do now. So it was just like I was trying to hold him correctly, but I was struggling. And then my sister literally took him out of my arms to hold him, and she was trying her best to teach me how to hold him properly, but it wasn't my fault, because, like, my arms were just like, because he was kind of like a heavy baby to me at that point, but, like, he was, like, regular weight to, like, everybody else, so it was kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't really interact with my nephew much during that time, because I was a kid, basically. Again, I was straight up a toddler holding an infant. So yeah, I did interact with my oldest sister a lot, but I was mostly just hanging out with my regular sister. So, and I also remember that I scraped my knee on the bed, that, like, during that time period. That wasn't fun. But during this whole time, my brother was literally out either with my dad, or he wasn't around as much. And I'm not talking about, no. But my father got to talk to my oldest brother during this time, but we weren't allowed to see him or talk to him, which was messed up, by the way. But I understand it now than back then. But I really wanted to meet him back then. considering he was like the only sibling that I haven't met at that point. But I met basically everybody else. Obviously, I've known my sister since I was born, but like, I mean, for like half-blood siblings is what I mean. Anyways, I'm also leaning on this, so this is making the noise. I'm just leaning on the house. But, then I also met, my grandfather at that point. He is no longer alive, but he is my father's father. And I met him when I was a toddler, so I don't remember much of that. And also, my brother wasn't around much during that time either. My sister was mostly hanging out with my mom, but, like, she spent a lot of time with me, and so did my mom. But, like, I was mostly spending most of that time with my grandfather or my step-grandmother, because my grandfather married again after my grandma. He also moved away, obviously, to West Virginia after that point. So, yeah. And also, my grandmother was long dead also, because she died in 1980. I didn't exist back then. Neither did my sister. So, like, we didn't meet her anyway. So I didn't really understand that dynamic. But it was nice, though. So I was basically just playing with my toys mostly. Well, it wasn't really my toys. Like, they had toys there. And I also had time on the quad, because they also had a quad. My grandfather would drive me around and stuff like that, and I bonded with my step-grandmother, and that's the reason why I love Red Delicious apples. But this has nothing to do with the story, but I mean, it does and then it doesn't. But anyways, so they weren't around. I was basically by myself for most of that time. I just remember mostly being by myself for that period in time, but I did spend a lot of time with my sister and my mom, but I was mostly with like everyone else. But my dad was always out, and so was my brother was always out, so I don't remember much interactions with them basically during that time. And then after that, we also did the Cape Cod trip, but there wasn't really much about that because we were all together, and we all spent time together. I skipped out of climbing the tower because, one, I hated heights, and two, I just felt weird climbing up those steps, so I went back down with my dad. My dad doesn't like heights either, but he just wanted an excuse to not do it, so like he took me with him. But I also wasn't allowed when they went up to the lighthouse because I was too young for that, so that sucks. So I basically was just chilling out in the gift shop the whole time. I forget I think I was like left with my aunt and uncle. I remember because I still have the dolphin that I got from that trip, and everything. Anyways, fast forward to a couple years later. Ooh, butterfly! Sorry. Sorry, I saw a monarch butterfly. You guys didn't see it, but it's always coming around. Anyway, that had nothing to do with what we're going on about. So yeah, years later, when me and my sister were a bit older, my brother's mother kept coming around and visiting us for a couple times because she wanted to see her son, and so she basically came from North Carolina just to visit. And so she was kind of a nice lady from what I remember. Like, she was never mean to me or my sister, but she wasn't the best woman ever either. She was an addict, which also explains what happened to him as well. But she also passed away more recently because of an overdose. But regardless of that, so yeah, she came around. She was trying to bond with us and everything else. And then we left to go somewhere. This was back when my mom didn't have the Mercury. My grandma still had the Mercury at this point in time, because my mom didn't get the Mercury until like my junior year of high school, basically. So yeah, we basically had the car for like 3 years about this point. Yeah, 3 years. But she had her, we had the Caravan because we still had my brother around, so she had more kids to literally have around. So we had the Caravan, the Dodge black Caravan with the TV in it. Best part of the 2000s. Oh my gosh. Anyways, you know what I mean if you grew up in the 2000s. You know what I mean. 100%. Especially if you grew up with a Caravan as well. Regardless of what Caravan it was. And if it had TV in it, you know what I'm talking about. Whee! So me, my dad, my mom, my sister, we all went to go somewhere. Don't remember what we did that day. We come back, our house was ransacked. We basically were broken into. My mom's jewelry was stolen. A lot of it was stolen, but she still has not much left, actually. And a lot of it was my grandmother gave her a lot of jewelry. So it's basically in our family to give jewelry down. This is my sister's ring that I'm borrowing, and this is also my sister's ring. But they actually fit my fingers for once, so I love wearing these. And I also misplaced the one that I got last year, so that's another reason why I wear these ones. So basically, as an example, through my sister's ring, it's basically we like to pass down jewelry down in the family, how it is with my grandmother to my mom to me. She also gave, my grandmother probably gave some to her other daughters, my aunts, I think. I don't know, unless they said it and I just don't remember. But she lost a lot of her good jewelry. But the bright side is she still has her wedding necklace. I don't know where her matching earrings are for that, though. But it's pretty, though. It's nothing to do with what we're talking about. So we do know who broke into her house. It was them, my brother and his mother. They broke in, they stole stuff, they sold it. They always said that they didn't do it, but it was too obvious that they did it. And then a couple either days or nights or months later, we were sleeping. We wake up, I go downstairs to wake up my brother, as I usually did as a kid, because I always said good morning to him. I always woke him up, even though it was annoying. And I found that he was gone. All of his stuff was gone as well. And he was gone. He never said goodbye. He never said anything. And it was like that for years. He'd never remembered our birthday. And whenever he did call or anything, he would basically be asking for money or whatever from my parents. And it basically sucked to know that he didn't really care about us. I didn't realize it until around after middle school and early high school and everything. Basically, everything he did wasn't because he actually cared. He was basically manipulating us to get stuff. He is an addict. We knew the whole time. He kept being in and out of rehab, which he's kind of still struggling with nowadays. And it's just hard because I used to love him a lot as a kid, and for him to literally just leave without saying goodbye extremely hurt as a kid, because I thought it was my fault. I thought he did apologize, but it wasn't a real apology because he kept doing everything that he always does, even to present day, and it hurts badly for that. And my sister was always telling me to just be careful, but she couldn't really keep me away from him during my middle school years when he came back around when I was 13, because I still at least loved him a lot back then. I don't anymore, obviously, for a lot of reasons that I explained. And again, he never called, and if he did call, it was because he was manipulating us because he wanted something, and then when he was back, he was trying to pretend to bond with me and everything else. My sister didn't have anything with it. She didn't like him at that point when she was in her teenage years because of obvious reasons. She was able to pick up on it a lot more than I was because I was still a kid. And then fast forward to 7th grade, there was a big change in my life. My sister started dating her now boyfriend, and I see him as a big brother figure. Ever since we met back on the first date, I was the first one to talk to him and everything. He changed my life drastically, and it finally feels like I actually have a brother for once, a real one, regardless that we're not related at all. And we also restored the headlights on the Mercury together. And so I was finally getting back into a somewhat happy place, even though my mental health was really horrible still back then. I'm doing a lot better now. But it was all because of a mix of everything that happened during my childhood, besides the stuff that I've already explained in this video. On top of that, and so my brother kept coming around again, and he would offer to bring me to school. I was always late when he would bring me to school. He was also speeding while bringing me to school. And considering, I mean, I love speed, but as long as you don't try to kill someone with it. Again, there's a difference between liking speed and being responsible with it. And then there's also the difference of being an idiot, of getting into car accidents. He was always in a car accident. My father always gets into car accidents a lot of the time as well, but it's mostly because he drinks and drives. My brother is also under the influence a lot of times when that happens as well. And yeah. And so he would bring me to school. I would be hella late. I would be hella pissed off for like the whole day because I was late in the morning, and I'm always time anxious for a lot of things, especially in my school days. If I'm late for at least a minute or during like the morning, I would be pissed for like the rest of the day, either if I had caffeine or not. And I used to drink a lot of caffeine, more than I do now. Back then, I would basically drink 3 cups of coffee, or like 3 ginormous monsters back then, because it was just helping me relax. But it was not healthy. Still not healthy now, but I can't help it because the caffeine helps keep me focused and stuff like that. It helps me control with my ADD. So it's not just because of stress, but it's also because like I feel like I'm floating around in space without it. So that's another reason. And I tried to like take ADD medication, and it didn't work out the best. So this is what I'm stuck with at this point. Anyways, so he'd be speeding, and we would almost get into accidents almost every time he'd bring me to school. I didn't like it when he had to bring me to school, but my mom, I had no choice. My father, he could have brought me, but he just wanted to sleep. So, yeah, explains what type of father he was. And there's also times where it also missed school because he was supposed to pick me up for school. He didn't show up. So, yeah, not my fault. It was his fault because I actually wanted to go to school. And that was back when I actually liked school at that point. Oh my gosh, I was so fed up during most of my years in high school, but this is not the point. So And the reason why he did that was because he could be able to manipulate doing good deeds to get something out of my parents or my sister or me. He also stole a good amount of money that me and my sister were saving up in our piggy banks that we had at home that should have been safe. We did also give money to my mom whenever we needed it badly because we are lower middle class, basically. But he had no right to literally break our piggy banks and to steal from us, and he took a lot of money from us, and he still owes us a lot of money. And honestly, if me and my sister wanted, we could have literally had our own cars, or our well, my sister has her license now, but I would have had things could have been a lot different, is what I'm saying, if he didn't steal from us, and he still has yet to pay us back. My sister doesn't care much. I don't really care at this point. I just don't want to interact with him regardless. So even if he does owe us a lot of money, we wouldn't have, we just don't want to interact with him. And we still get his mail here because he used to live here and he has not changed his address. And I just hate seeing his name pop up or seeing his mail. Also, he does come around and stuff like that, but he's not allowed to come here unless my father is home, for a lot of reasons that I will not explain in this video because it's a story time for another day, but it also relates to this video. So yeah, it wasn't great to literally know that you wake up one day and to know that someone that you really love and care about is just gone without saying anything, and then who is just gone for years, and then they just come back into your life like nothing happened. And also, like, he never really loved me or my sister. He just did it to just manipulate, just to get stuff. And it's just annoying because like, me and my sister were saving up for, like, our future, for either college was one of them, or to get, like, our first car or whatever, or to move out and get our own apartment. We had enough in those piggy banks together if we wanted to, and then he stole a lot of our money, and now, I mean, we're in good places at this point. Well, my sister's better off than I am, but still. And it just sucks. We could have been at a different point in time now if we still had what he stole from us. And that wasn't only the thing that he stole from us, because he basically stole our happiness from when we were children. He because of everything that he's done. He's also done a couple of other horrible things that I just do not want to talk about now. Also, he came around last year. He bought a Mercury LS. That's why I don't like that specific car. No offense, it's not a bad car. He's just an asshole. So that's why I dislike the car. And every time I see that car, that's what I think of when I see that car. That's why I dislike the car. Not because of the performance or anything. It's just because he owned one. And he bought it at our house. I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who he was. I thought it was just some random wacko making like a deal with someone in front of our own house. And he was just walking around. He had a bunch of friends over too. I don't know who these guys are. These are like grown-ass men. I was still in high school. And they stuck around until like around at night. And I was scared enough because I didn't know who he was. So I called the cops on him because I didn't know who he was. And they were gone by the time they did. They inspected the car. They said it wasn't stolen or whatever. I was just alright. And the police were literally like super nice about it. And they were like, if they come back, call us. And the reason why I was scared about it, because I didn't recognize who it was. I was traumatized, and straight up, they were literally going back the windows were open so I could hear them. They were going in the back of the house, and they were rocking around the house, talking and hanging out, chilling out like it was like their place. It wasn't their place. And yeah, and I was also on the line with my sister at that point, and then I wasn't explained that it was him and he was going to do that until after. Also, my mom knew about this too, because I also called her, because I would have been stupid if I didn't. And I armed myself with a kitchen knife, and I was literally like hiding, because that's how bad this area that I live in is. So I thought it was just some random ass dude again. And I was also live during the whole time, so if you guys saw the live, you know what I'm talking about. Again, this was like last year and everything, and I was so done, and my mental health was so bad at that point that I was literally having panic attacks before and after that. So, and then he didn't even come back to pick up the car for like months after that. So yeah, and I apologize for how long this is, but it's like a whole span of a whole timeline of this whole thing, and that's why it's all messed up. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up now is because he recently messaged me and my sister on Messenger. I blocked him. I blocked him after that. After like a few days, and I was like full on upset. I never opened the message, neither did my sister. He sent a photo of him and someone else. I didn't see it because, again, I didn't open it. And it was also because of he said, "How are you, little sis? I love you so much. How's it going? How are you?" and everything else. And the reason why I didn't open it or answer it is because he was only doing that because he wanted to use us, and he never literally sent or tried to message us after that. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring this up. And there's a full-on timeline of messed up stuff in between of this, but I don't want to make it any longer. So yeah, I apologize, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do whatever you want. Please like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Yeah, it sucks, but I know a lot of people who went through similar stuff like that. And also, if you're wondering where my shoes are and I'm in my socks, I took off my Converse because I'm sitting on a blanket, and I don't want to step on the blanket or anything. So yeah, that's why. Again, I'm sorry for how long this is, but I wanted to fully explain everything out, and this is already hard enough for me to get this out. But yeah, life sucks, and have a good day. Also, enjoy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day also. Enjoy the day, because it's gonna be hot as hell out. I'm sweating, and I feel like I'm getting heat stroke already. So yeah, peace out. And yeah, have a good day, guys. See you guys later. And I'm sorry for this sad and depressing video, but also more videos coming soon, but I probably will have to wait. Actually, no, the heck with it. Well, I'll probably upload another video this week, just cause, and then I won't upload until the week after this, next week basically. Only because my mama has a couple days off, and I want to kind of take advantage of that, so yay. Also, more Dunkin' ads are coming. Thank you, Dunkin', for everything. Also, Dunkin' has a big role to play with this whole timeline as well. But anyways, see you guys later. I'm not making this any longer. Peace out.